Hi ULs and FLs, just a quick trigger warning. In today's episode, Simon and I make reference to gender-based violence, so just be aware that that's coming up in today's conversation.
Hi, it says that Lee has notifications silenced.
Only on one of my many devices.
Hello, it sounds like you might have had a hard week.
Oh, do you want to clap and just get it over with?
Oh, yeah. I would have forgotten. 3, 2, 1. My clapping's got a little lackluster.
Everything about me is a little lackluster. I'm switching the camera off.
Okay.
I just don't want to be looked at.
Oh, pop it.
I think I've got the equivalent of jet lag if you got jet lag from looking at the computer screen and writing the same sentence over and over and over again. I feel like Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
The same sentence?
Yeah, you know, when you just... It feels like you're writing the same sentence over and over again. Because I'm doing documentation, so it's not, you know, for oh God, I can't even finish the sentence. It's so exciting.
And that's what your week has, it's been very much like you're stuck in a Palm Springs type...
Oh, I like that you went to the Amazon Prime original movie Palm Springs, starring Andy Sandberg. Alan.
Yes, that's Andy Sandberg, that's right.
And
I forget
Christina Milotti.
Yes.
Who was in the Broadway staging of Once, but is perhaps more famous for being in How I Met Your Mother's final season. Much derided.
Is it much derided?
I believe so, yeah. Something to do with the fact that... I don't know.
I think she's great in
Oh, she's great. No, I think it was the series that was derided, not her presence in it.
Right. Yeah, no, I take a lot of pleasure in that film. I don't quite know why, but I...
It's a cracker. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, I didn't go to Groundhog Day, is what
No,
you're...
I was really impressed. While we speak about Amazon Prime original movies, if Mr. Bezos would like to give us some money, we will redistribute it to people who need it more than him.
Basically means everyone can pay with him.
Exactly. Another billionaire went into space, didn't they, this week?
Really, that hasn't been on my news radar. My news radar has been focused on wine and cheese at Downing Street.
Oh, well, this was at the beginning of the week, so this predated the wine and cheese affair.
The hypothetical that never happened.
Yeah. So it was only hours before that story broke, I think. I think I heard it on Monday morning. There was a billionaire from Japan who is rich because of clothing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean do you mean that store that not Muji? There's another one. Oh, I'm the worst at this. This is when you step in and save me.
Yeah, but I don't remember. I think it's an online fashion emporium, and I don't know fashion emporiums online because I don't shop at them. Sorry. So he went into space and was given 100 tasks. And I was at first
100?
I thought, oh yeah. He opened it up to like Twitter, and so the tasks are things like play golf, eat an egg. They're not like I thought he would be like experimenting on plants and something useful for the world.
I was thinking it was Uniqlo, by the way, but it could be Wago.
Could be. Don't know. Anyway, it cost £66 million to send him into space with the Russian cosmonauts, and I did find myself thinking, I wonder what else you could have done with your £66 million that wouldn't have been quite so... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just stick with profligate. You know.
Yeah, the only thing is it's a little bit like that, it's really isn't. I mean, it's full agreement, just to be clear.
Are you about to take the side of the billionaire? This would be so unlike you, Simon, to take the opposite part.
About to take... I'm not. I was just thinking that how we spend our money is always peculiar.
Oh,
whether we have a little bit of money or an extraordinary amount of money. Why would someone spend their money on that? like, I don't know, milk. Why not make your own milk, oat milk, for example?
Okay, I'm really glad that you said why not make your own oat milk. Because I don't have the mammary capacity to make my own milk.
Show title.
Oh. So how's your week been? Because I just launched into
I think my week might have been better than yours.
Well, yeah, I think it might have been.
I
can't imagine anybody had a worse week.
Not that we're in a competition, although that would be a funny competition. Two academics vying for having the best week. Yeah, it's been, a little bit. It's pretty laggy. It's a strange thing when you, just get to the end of the day and dog tired. Sorry, Jeffrey, I mean it in the best possible way. And you think, this is going to be the day. I'm going to sleep through. And it's like it's 10:30. It's a proper time of night to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you go, oh my God, I did it. And it's 2:30.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so I listened to podcasts for 2 hours while waiting for a over-the-counter sleeping tablet to kick in, and then by the time it kicked in, I was waking up at about 8, and I'm really groggy.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's been like that all week, really.
Right, so I similarly had an interrupted night of sleep last night, but mine was for a different reason.
Drug-fueled?
No, although I did have a bottle of wine. Not a bottle of wine. God, a glass of wine. No, it was a glass. I didn't share the glass. I drank the glass all by myself.
Right.
But yesterday was the 6-month anniversary of my second COVID vaccine injection.
Oh, you had a booster.
I had a booster, and motherfucker, does my arm hurt.
Oh, you mean more than the first two?
Oh, my Lord.
This would have been Pfizer. Did you have AstraZeneca initial?
I had AstraZeneca the first 2 times, same as you, but this was Moderna.
Oh,
the Moderna Spikevax is its current trade name. Spikevax. Yeah, I could not imagine a less appealing name. And
it's strange.
My arm by bedtime was doing a little song, a song of sadness.
A song of pain and sadness.
A song of, well, it was mostly sadness in the evening.
Was it Sondheim?
It was Son. Oh yes, gone too soon.
I was more at. What's that? What? I just need you with moments like this. This is why I have you in my life. Really, is what's the musical about? Kiss Me, Kate. Is it Kiss Me, Kate?
Kiss Me, Kate is a musical indeed. It's based upon Taming of the Shrew. That's right. It's not a Sondheim. No,
you're kidding me. It's not.
It's not. You're going to have to check because now I don't trust myself.
It's music and lyrics by. You're right. It's not.
Rodgers and Hammerstein, I'm going to guess.
Oh, come on. You went Cole Porter.
Oh, Cole Porter. There you go. See?
Yeah.
I knew it was the golden age, so I knew we were definitely I think because Sondheim really kicks off with West Side Story and his collaboration with Jerome Robbins, who, of course, you know because he's a choreographer, and Leonard Bernstein, who is, of course, the composer.
Yes, and of course, Steven Spielberg has just released a version of it.
He has indeed, which looks fabulous, but I'm
quite excited to see it, Lee. I'm just going to wait until it's some illegal download site.
Anything
that
ends
you
in
showed me.
Oh my God! I can't believe you would impugn my good name. I learned all of my piracy off you.
We might get into trouble. You might have to edit this bit out.
Oh, I suspect I will.
We did not download those things.
No.
Whilst eating wine and cheese illegally, we're just having a laugh about it. Or as she said, her name is Allegra Stratton.
Yeah.
In her apology said, it seemed as if we were joking. It seemed? You were, just to be clear.
I think I'm going to do some Hamlet for you now.
Oh.
I think Hamlet says to his mother, nay, madam, I know not seems, I think.
I know not what?
Seems. Something about you seems sad, and he goes, no, it's not seeming. It's the real deal. And I'm going to evidently have to look that up at some point.
I'm doing it right now. Yes, you're spot on.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, Hamlet.
Oh my God. Yeah, so it's after she said something along, cast off thy inky cloak. It's about him being sad
Seems,
for too long.
madam, nay, it is I know not, seems,
Yeah.
'tis not alone, etc. I mean, etc., etc.
There we go. Oh, I am so good at remembering things that I forgot. This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing. There's a funny moment. Well, I don't think it's that funny, but there is a moment at the end of our conversation, the episode last week, where I say, now that's something, Lee Miller, that we can agree on.
Yes.
And it's a particularly... shall I keep going with this?
Oh, why not? Because I know where it's going.
Yeah. It's a particularly
Can I say
odd
this
moment.
massive fucking record scratch from talking about what we were just talking about? But
Yes,
also
it is,
it's
but I'm
not.
just thinking that there's been a bit of music and we've just introduced ourselves. And now we're on. What are we on? This must be... you're listening to episode 58 right now. Anyway, it's referring the idea that when you think that's something we can agree on, you listen to that episode, we seem to be in total agreement. What you don't know, dear listeners, is that we had, well, quite a long and difficult conversation.
We had a row. Come on.
We did have a row.
Let's be honest. We had a fight.
Yeah. And,
Voices weren't raised, but we were sharp with one another and cold with one another.
We were, and Lee, rightly so, I think, cut it out. How would you describe a straw man argument, Lee Miller?
A straw man is something that is put up deliberately to be kicked, just to be beaten, because it effectively has no, it has no purpose other than to be pulled apart.
Yeah, and it's something easy to pull apart.
Yeah.
It's like the lowest hanging fruit of a particular argument.
Yeah.
Like one that comes to mind, I don't know if this is a good example, but someone who's not into vaccines says, but I know people who have been vaccinated who've had COVID.
Yes.
Right. That's like, to me, that's a really low hanging fruit or a straw man argument for why one shouldn't take vaccines.
Yeah.
And have you heard of a steel man argument?
No, I haven't, but I'm guessing it's the opposite of a straw man, just because of inference. Would I be correct?
I still really like the gendered aspects of this. Seems entirely appropriate. Yeah. So what I thought I would try and do is construct a steel man or steel person argument for what you were saying last week.
Right.
In order for us to have this conversation.
Okay, have at it.
Can I try?
Yeah, why not? I'm just going to kick back and cradle my brokey arm.
I'm feeling a little bit anxious because it's going to test my memory, but you're going to cut out all the bits where I struggle, and also you're going to help me with
I will jump in every now and then. I should also say for the ULs and FLs that I did promise Simon that what I would do is do an edit of the conversation that we had. And my week has been so busy.
Palm Springs.
Yeah, exactly. That every time I sat down and started to listen to it, I just lost the will to live. So I just went, no, I can't do this. So I couldn't find the emotional fortitude to do the labour. So I just went, I can't do this. So I apologise that I've not been able to follow through to make your life a bit easier, Simon. So I will help. No
need to apologise. So it started innocuously, and it's not important how it started in the sense, except my response to what Lee said was, more or less, what's the point in that kind of protest when the horse is already bolted? Meaning, if someone's against something but that thing has already happened, why continue to protest about that thing?
Yes.
Do you think that's a fair...
Yeah, and the thing that we were discussing, there was a group of people, and you said, it's easy to say that you're against something, but what are you for? That was also part of your critique.
Yes, yep. And then I think it's correct that you turned the conversation rightly into something more difficult to talk about, which was violence against women.
Yeah, I did.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it sounds like, again, in a précis, it sounds like a record scratch, but we were talking about the notions of what protest can do, and I had been reading during the week a variety of things about neoliberalism. Was one thing I've been doing a lot of reading about, because as I said in the conversation that we had, I'm supporting third year dissertation students, so I'm having to read around stuff and remind myself of stuff because of what they're bringing to me. So one topic was neoliberalism, and another topic was second wave feminism. So the two were in my head quite close to one another, which is how I went from a conversation about complaining about effectively neoliberalist market economics in the university sector, and then to what probably does feel like a bit of a record scratch, to violence against women. But in my head, second wave feminism was quite close.
Yes, and you were making, I think, actually very strong arguments that this is something that continues to be an enormous problem. And so I did a little bit of reading, just to I don't want to make it out like I'm doing preparation, but it's, so here's one headline from The Guardian. This is from July 2021: epidemic of violence against women underway in England and Wales. I'm not quite sure what they mean by underway, but. Actually, that doesn't have so many stats. But here's another one. This is from Office of National Statistics, ONS. 1 in 5 women have experienced some form of sexual violence since the age of 16. That was from 2013. Same year, approximately 85,000 women are raped, and over 400,000 women are sexually assaulted in England and Wales every year. Sexual violence is even more prevalent for younger women, as 1 in 3 teenage girls experience some form of sexual violence from a partner. And then coercive control or pressure is used more frequently by partners than physical force, as 16% of girls have been raped under pressure. Anyway, this is where, which I'll get to, my kind of response falls down in a flaming heap, right? Which is, we were talking about and are talking about something which is a massive problem. And even if these ONS statistics, even if someone in their most cynical lives was saying, well, they're inflated, even if they're 50% out, even if they're 80% out, they're still astoundingly appalling numbers, right? That quite simply, a woman not only should feel, but should actually be safe to walk along the street. And so you were saying, and this is where I sort of stepped in, which was you didn't present these numbers, but it's not that I wasn't unfamiliar with if it's described here as an epidemic, which was a kind of a solution. And what you were saying is that we must continue to actively protest against this this, let's say, state of affairs. Is that a fair?
I think it's a much more coherent and cohesive argument than the one I put forward, because like all of our conversations, it went all over the map. I think I was a little less measured, and I wasn't able to marshal my thoughts with quite the clarity that you've just been able to kind of bring things together. Because, yeah,
I've had a week to think about it.
Yeah, it was less about protest, and it was more about responsibility. So actually, I think I slipped off protest relatively quickly and started to talk about how do we take responsibility for the actions of people who look like us. And I think that was the bit that we started to get into sort of more difficult terrain about, because I did that very lazy thing that I have a habit of doing, and I think all of our ULs and FLs have heard me go, God, white men, as if I'm not one. Yeah, as if I am not absolutely. And we've actually had this conversation before about my occasional sense of shame about being part of a privileged elite that has got nothing to do. Well, I know I was going to say nothing to do with what I've earned in the world, because that's how elites and privilege works. Oh my God. So yeah, I think that was where we started to come unstuck in our conversations, because I was critical, openly critical, and I think I don't. Although I think probably I could have been more gentle in some of my conversations with you, especially as you were very jet lagged last week, Simon. And that I think is important for us to reflect upon, because that did inform our ability to converse with one another. I still hold to that sort of sense of we have to take responsibility, and by we I mean you and I, but by we I also mean society. The complexity of we.
Yes, and this is where I piped up, and I think I would love to hear from people who don't agree with that idea, meaning taking responsibility. The question of how we take responsibility, of course, is more tricky.
That's so hard, and if I had an answer, I think I would be probably in that room talking about cheese and wine and laughing about it.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And it is where I piped up. I don't know this of myself. You said something to me which was a little bit right, but also a little bit hurtful, which is okay. But I don't know about why I'm doing this. But it comes down to a headline from a newspaper, an online newspaper in New Zealand called Stuff, which is very curious that it's called stuff.co.nz. And it's from last week. So it was just entirely ironic, as Alanis Morissette would have said, and not a coincidence. It was just a coincidence. And it says, the headline is "The Impossible Task: How New Zealand Plans to Tackle Violence Without Maligning Men." And that was effectively what I was... that headline sort of sums up my anxiety, which was how do we not ostracize? Is that the right word? How do we not?
It's a great word.
Ostracize these men who are responsible for, men like us who are responsible for that violence, and effectively, let's say, disenfranchise them from a big conversation about responsibility. And your response, and I think it's an important one, is now's not the time to be worrying about them. You said it slightly more evocatively.
I think I said they can all fuck off, is what I said, Simon. They can just fuck off, is what I said.
I'm trying not to use swear language because I'm just imagining that somewhere there's a posthumous form of podcasting going on, and that my mum is listening to this episode. And
earlier on, when I said that my arm hurt like a motherfucker, I very nearly went, "I am so sorry, Gabriel," because I know that your mum would not have been enjoying that bit. But
there's a note in your mother's spreadsheet next to my mother's name which says "does not like swear words."
Oh no, I feel doubly bad now. Okay, but even though I think in this particular instance, whilst your mum would not have forgiven my use of the language, she would, I think, appreciate that I am trying to meet your honesty with my honesty, because you were letting me off a little bit too easily then when you said you were a little more strident in your opinion. I did tell them.
I'm still a little bit steel manning in the sense I'm still trying to. I'm still not trying to. I'm still trying to do my very best, because I do think, certainly because I think we're in disagreement, and although I'm not sure the extent of that disagreement, but I think it's a really important thing, which is to go, well, yeah, it's all easy for me to think what I think, but how do I, in the best possible way, step into the shoes of this other person and mount an argument against myself, as it were.
Okay.
But anyway, the only thought I have, and that's pretty much the end of the story, I think, except you said, what would you do? And this is when it got heated for me, which was, I wouldn't start by telling them to fuck off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the things that I was thinking about during the week, the word that kept coming back to me was dignity, and that the responsibility of culture is to preserve the dignity as best as possible of everyone. So dignity is being stripped from these women, absolutely, right, in extraordinary ways. But then there's also the dignity of people who, I'm going to use the word perpetrators, which of course in that article and stuff, they don't even use. They make a point about how the word perpetrator is not even used. And I wonder what you think about that.
I think the idea of dignity, and I think everybody deserving dignity is
idealistic.
No, I was going to say laudable, Simon. I think it's laudable. I think where I struggle is in the... Okay, so I gave an example of when I was 17, 18. And I was at what I guess would now be articulated as my school prom. But it wasn't called that at the time. It was a disco. Do
they call them proms now here in the UK?
I think they do. I think it's become endemic.
Thank you, America.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Yeah.
I think I've gone on the record that I was a chubby kid. I also wasn't a particularly tall kid or a physically capable kid.
And with a particular taste for clothing.
Yeah, outlandishly loud, colourful.
That mixture of things.
I also had long hair. I didn't do myself any favours in terms of wanting to go under the radar.
Oh, I love it. I love that about you.
At this school disco, 3 big rugby-playing lads, and they were big. They were all a head taller than me, and they were all wider than I was, and they were muscled rather than than fat. As I said to Simon last week, this is a deeply shameful thing for me to uncover, to kind of go back to. I squashed this down and don't really think about it.
And you did say that. Like, I mean, this is a strange thing we're doing in a way, because of course we could just play it from last week. But you did say you don't know. It's like you hadn't thought about it in years. You didn't even know where it really just jumped up at you.
It came from nowhere, and so this is easier to repeat than it is to edit. You know, to go back to the edited version, because it was so raw listening to it. Whereas saying it now, it's like, oh well, it's already twice behaviour. I've said this once. It's a story now. It's easier to negotiate.
Yeah.
So
it's more abstract.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've already gone through the process of trying to frame it as a narrative. So I was approached by these 3 big lads, and they wanted to beat me up. They wanted to beat me up for being different, for being little, for being gay, of which they were absolutely convinced I was. So I was othered by them. And, you know, the actuality of what I was is neither here nor there. Didn't matter to them. I was other. I was wrong. I was different. I was all of those things.
Did it matter to you? Did it matter to you in terms of how that they'd got you wrong?
No.
It was irrelevant.
So these guys wanted to take me out, and they wanted to beat the shit out of me. And if it wasn't for an ex-SAS games teacher who gently stepped in with, thankfully, a 6'4" frame and a very terrifying demeanour to just encourage them to jog on, I think
you would have been beaten up.
I think I would have been beaten up. And the thing
big shout out to your games teacher, SAS games teacher. Everyone needs an ex-SAS person as their games teacher. Wow.
So that came up for me last week, because the point I was trying to get at in a very, very long-winded way, and it's long-winded again today, is that I carried with me that sense of fear and shame from one unprovoked and undelivered upon moment of violence.
Yeah.
And that's where I said, and they can fuck off. The I was talking about were those 3 lads. So I think this is what I mean about the laudable, but you also, you know, said idealistic. I think it asks an awful lot of somebody who has had violence perpetrated against them, which, to be clear, I did not have.
Yeah.
I am not kind of making some easy comparison. I'm saying quite the opposite. I'm saying I was horrified and terrified, and nothing happened to me. Imagine what it's like to have it in your body. So that's why I was kind of going, I don't think I was able to say this last week, because I think we were both not in the right place. While I can hear what you're saying about everybody deserving dignity, in an ideal world, they do. But it's asking an awful lot of somebody who has had all of their dignity stripped from them to then try to offer that level of kindness back to somebody else. Next time on Midlifing.
I don't know how it would be, let's say, acted upon.
Yeah.
Talking about it as a systemic societal problem, that unless the conversations are happening with and to those men who are so whatever the word is, that their recourse to action is to commit acts of violence towards other people, that unless that conversation is with them and isn't shaming them, then we are, like my kind of sense is that they are and we are lost.